Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, as always, coming from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast, brought to you by our friends at the Bamboozle Project as well as DraftKings. We encourage you to go get your holiday shopping underway early at thebamboozleproject.com. And when you get to that checkout screen, make sure you use promo code MYPB and save yourself a whopping 20% off your total order. That is not like a Black Friday special.
That's a super Black Friday special.
That is not a Cyber Monday special. That is an everyday special, courtesy of MYPB. We thank DraftKings as well. You can listen to us on a variety of different platforms: Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. You can watch us live, interact with us on either Instagram or YouTube. You can stream it at your convenience at Spotify or iTunes. This is episode 176, 176. So if you're joining using the SAP features available to you today or tomorrow, whenever you tune us in, please feel free to do so. And you can contact us with your questions at any time. You can email us at mypbshow@gmail.com. But I am at a point where I am about to get rid of that because all of you guys DM us at Mind Your Pucking Business. And that is the easiest way to get us. And you can get us there anytime you want. We respond to absolutely everything. You know this. We try to be quick when we respond. So if you want to get us, DMing on the Instagram platform is probably the best way to go.
True.
How are you?
A little stressful this morning.
A little stressful.
We're gonna throw Optum under the bus.
We're
the best.
We're a couple minutes late. I wouldn't say
It wasn't our fault.
Yeah,
Optimum's fault.
Yeah, no.
90% of the time, we're chit chatting or whatever.
Yeah.
We get a little late.
Okay.
Optimum's
All right.
fault.
So
today.
we'll put the blame. We'll put the blame on the internet delay here for a couple minutes on Optimum. But there's a lot of blame to go around that we can talk about with the New York Rangers hockey team. Let's try and do what we normally do, and that is kind of go in chronological date order of when we were last on. So we're taping this episode on November 27th. If you're joining us, and it's not November 27th, if it's after tomorrow, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving and you didn't gain too much weight. But in any event, last week we left you. And the Rangers had just beaten Vancouver. We were kind of a little sleep deprived here in the studio the next morning, but we got through it. The next night, the Rangers went to Calgary, had a very lackluster effort. I mean, they let up, other than the 2 goals that they scored within 20 seconds from Cooley and Lafreniere, there wasn't a lot to go on about that game as they lost 3-2. They were not the better team in that game by any means. And the concerning thing to me in that game was that you let up 49 shots. And I'm just going to say that because there's a theme that we're going to get to here in a minute with shots against. You can live with losing to Calgary 3-2. I mean, do you want to? No. But all right, not the end of the world. Rangers go to Edmonton on Saturday night. I'm not going to talk about this game. Now, they lost 6-2, but I'm not going to talk about it for 2 reasons. One, I saw 0 of it. My Jenny in the Block and I had an event that we were at Saturday night. I missed the entire game. And when I got home, although I kind of had an idea what was going on from people DMing me, I didn't even watch the goals. I know Panarin scored the 2 lone goals. I don't know anything except they played really bad, and I didn't want to go and watch it. So, But they let up again. Let's stick with a common theme here. They let up 40 shots on goal in Edmonton. So Monday night, they come home and they play the Blues. The Blues are not a good hockey team. There are some people who watch our podcast and follow our podcast that are big Pavel Buchnevich fans, which is fine. Right? Like that, you're entitled. I liked him when he was here. And they follow the Blues maybe, and they like the Blues and the Rangers, and they tell me all the time that Pavel Buchnevich, should have still been here, whatever. And maybe there's a point to that. But the Blues are not a good hockey team. Now, over the weekend, the Blues hired, actually Sunday, so they played on Monday night at the Garden. They hired Jim Montgomery, who was fired last week from the Bruins, who's an outstanding coach. So, new coach comes in, maybe the Blues get a little bit of a jump from that. What you would expect Monday night was that the Rangers would come out with a lot of energy. They played awful the last 2 games. There was a report that came out on Sunday. Elliot Friedman broke it in Canada, which was that Chris Drury is looking to make a move, and nobody is safe. And the names that he threw out there were Kreider and Trouba. Now, everyone should know that Jacob Trouba is available for trade because we all went through this in the summer. And it was kept less of a secret than your grandmother's sweet potato pie recipe that you're going to eat tomorrow at Thanksgiving. Like, it's not a secret, but some of the other stuff was a secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of would expect the team then to come out and play with energy because of what's going on. And you didn't get that at all on Monday night. Will Cooley scores both goals in a 5-2 loss. And St. Louis, who is the third worst, I'm going to repeat that, the third worst offensive team in hockey, had 44 shots. 44 shots against.
Wow.
Now, I could get into, and I'm not because there's more important things to talk about, but I'm just going to mention it, and I'm going to mention it here in passing, and I will not go into it today because I don't have the time and I don't have the energy, and I'm annoyed at other stuff but this is annoying.
Yeah.
Matt Rempe took the dumbest penalty I've ever seen in my goddamn life in the third period on Monday night.
Rem sanity.
I don't have time to talk about him today. I don't even like talking about him. You know that, and there's more important things. But I just wanted to throw that out there with Matt Rempe. So now, you lose to a bad team on home ice when you think there would certainly be energy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of areas we can address right now and talk about when we talk about the title to this episode, if you're following it, which is Rangers appear in a free fall.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot you can talk about, right? When you think of the word free fall, and it's a little bit maybe aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
but it might be accurate. So there's a lot we can talk about. Let's start about what, to me, the most frustrating part of it is. And other people may disagree, and you can put, because I see Instagram is blowing up,
Mm-hmm.
you can put in the Instagram comments or on YouTube. Hello, Chris. Hello, Mike. Hey, all of you guys. You can put if you agree with me or not. But here's what the most frustrating thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot, but you want me to tell you the number one most important thing. If you listen to MYPB, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you stream it. Maybe you watch us live. You interact with us, right? Yeah, you watch it live. You have to. But you're paid to be here. So, we're thankful for you, right?
Yeah.
I want to say that we're thankful with the holiday tomorrow of Thanksgiving. And if you watch us, you probably care a lot about the Rangers. I don't think you're here just because we're giving away hats this week or other things. It's because you like the Rangers, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you like Raising Cane's and another food review that comes out this week, but you're here because you like the Rangers. So when you see a team that you are emotionally invested in and you care a lot, maybe you have season tickets like me, maybe you're going to Philadelphia on Friday for the game because you care about this team, or maybe you watch every game from home, or maybe you're some of the people that listen to us from Europe, and I see one of you is watching right now. You're spending a lot of time investing emotional energy in a team because you care. And what you are getting in return is a team that just does not look like they give a shit right now. They do not care at all. When they go down in games, there is no fight in them at all to come back. And it's the polar opposite of last year, because last year when they would go down in games, like I go back to the Islander game, right? The outdoor game when they went down. I could go back off the top of my head. The game they clinched the playoffs on a Tuesday night in March against the Flyers at home. They were down early and came back. They needed to win the President's Trophy. They had to beat the Islanders on the second to last home game of the year. They were down in that game. They came back. They would come back and win. There was a fight to them. Right now, they don't even care. They just do not care.
No
so
fight.
We'll get into the other stuff right now. But if you want to know top of the list, what bothers me the most is that. And I can see on Instagram some of you guys agree. And I want to say hi to Mrs. O, who's watching on an off period, one of my favorite people who gets to watch, who's teaching. So quick little shout out there to Mrs. O. But they look completely lifeless. So some of this, right? And it's debatable how much. You can't tell me that none of this has to do with what I'm about to say. What you can debate is how much. Is it the majority of this is the problem, or is it just some of it? And that is the Trouba situation from over the summer hasn't helped. There's no way to me that there is not a factor playing into this, what this team went through in the summer with Jacob Trouba. And again, nothing there was kept a secret at all, right? It was all out there. They were trying to trade Jacob Trouba. That's the sort of thing, like now, where they stand at the end of November, watching a lifeless team that looks like they don't care, when last year they looked like they were having fun. You know how many graphics we could put up from last season of Artemi Panarin smiling all the time? I mean, granted, he had, an MVP like year. He didn't win the MVP, but he was in the discussion for the Hart Trophy. All these pictures of him smiling and having fun and all that stuff. And now that's like they just don't care.
So you think they're just following Trouba's lead of like being pissed off because they want to trade him?
No, I just think I don't think the players wanted Trouba out. I think it's the fact that just the management,
the management, obviously made it clear that, they were looking to trade Trouba. Obviously, that's not going to make you a happy player. So do you think that's just like, spreading around the locker room of like, Trouba's not happy, he's the captain, and it's just spreading like wildfire?
Yes. Now, again, the question is how much. But yes, does that play into it? To some degree, 100%. How much? I don't know. Now, some people are saying, and this is a little extreme, but, you're entitled to your own opinion, that they got to blow things up. This is the end of the core and all that stuff, right? So here's the problem with blowing things up. Well, there's a bunch of problems, but I'm going to just take like a surface level, not even a Ranger thing, just life, right? In any situation in life, if you're going to blow something up, right, and fix too many things and try to address 15 areas of the New York Rangers hockey team right now that you want to address and fix, you are bound just statistically to try and you're going to end up fixing things or parts that are really not broken. So it doesn't really get you to where you need to go. You need to be focused, and in Chris Drury's sense right now, methodical in knowing exactly what needs to be addressed first. And then part B is addressing those parts, not blowing it up, because that's a little extreme. Has Peter Laviolette lost the locker room? Because that's another question that I think is fair to ask. Now, year two, and we said this when Gerard Gallant went into year two, and we said this with Peter Laviolette last year as going into this year, is that year two always seems to be a downfall in the NHL. Heck, look at Jim Montgomery up in Boston. The guy won the President's Trophy. A year later, he's out of a job. He's now in St. Louis. So there seems to be a downfall. But it's hard to me to imagine changing a coach that literally 6 months ago won the President's Trophy, and right now in the start of the season, his team is 15-8 or 15-7, whatever it is, right? So I'm not sure that you're going to go out and be definitive. And if you're going to fire a coach, you need to be definitive, and you also have to have someone else in the background that coming in that you think can fix the problem and be better. I'm not sure that that's the answer right now, changing the coach. But has Laviolette lost the room? It's a possibility. When you see a team coming out with no energy, heck, before we talk about this morning about the 1,000,000 shots against per game, how many weeks have I sat here and told you about how terrible the Rangers are at starting games, right? It's almost like they're letting up a goal in the first 2 minutes every single game. That's not being prepared to play. If it happens once in a while, yeah, there's puck luck, bad bounce, blown coverage, whatever. But when it's consistently happening at the amount that the amount of times it's happening, it's a problem. Like it's a problem. Now, the other thing is in this report that came out on Sunday from Elliot Friedman, which I don't know how hockey reporting works, nor do I want to know. Like MYPB is more than enough for me. This is not my real-time job. It's just funny that like Elliot Friedman reported it, and then all of a sudden, all these other teams were reporting it. It was like, it was like, one person says it, and then everyone else comes on and says it, and it's like, well, we already read it. But anyway, so Chris Drury's looking to do something. If I'm Chris Drury and I'm sitting there today at Two Penn Plaza outside the Garden, or maybe he's in Carolina because the Rangers are there tonight, I can't be in a very festive mood this Thanksgiving. I know I need to do something because what you have right now is not working. And as we all know, and everyone would agree to this, there's not a single person of you guys on Instagram or YouTube or Spotify, none of you will disagree with me with this. The goal for this team this year is cup or bust. There is no opportunity right now for you to make the playoffs and say it was a successful year. Maybe, and I will disagree with you, but if you want to argue with me that they made the Stanley Cup and lost in the finals, okay, I guess. To me, it would still be a failure. But anything else is unacceptable right now with this group. And right now, they are so far away from playing at that level that if they continue to play like what we've seen in the last, not just week, in the last 2.5, 3 weeks, like go back to that Buffalo game I sat through at the Garden, they're not even going to make the playoffs if they continue at this pace. So
time out.
Yeah.
Are we close to hitting the panic button?
We're not. So you asked me this coming in the studio, which was a fair question, because 2 years ago, yeah, I see what you're doing. 2 years ago, the staple, I think it was Staples, right? That had the
Yep,
what was
that
the,
was easy.
that was easy button. That was it,
That
right?
was
We
easy.
had
That
we
was
had the
easy.
panic button here.
Yes.
And I was close to pushing it. I never did because I feel like when you're pushing it,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a panic button, there's got to be a real problem.
Yeah.
And there is a real problem, but I'm not sure if we're at that level yet, but we're getting close. I'll say this. I'm not pushing the panic button yet,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I'm looking at the panic button. I'm making sure the AAA batteries in it are working.
Wow.
In
So when
the-
you do press it, it actually works.
In the event that I need it.
Okay.
So that is so. Okay, so you know that Chris Drury is ruthless, right? And he's going to make moves. Look at what happened with Barkley Goodrow and the fact that the Trouba thing became such a public debacle. He just doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone that listens to the show, and I don't know if he's listening today. I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he wants me to say his name. Is friends with someone who either played hockey with Chris Drury. So there's some connection. And he said to me over the weekend on Instagram, I'm telling you, dude, Chris Drury is the most ruthless individual. He doesn't care. And I'm like, again, look what he did to Barkley Goodrow. Of course, we know this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that changing the coach is the answer. Let's talk about defensively, because I've kind of referenced it a little bit in what I've talked about so far in the shots against. In the last 3 games, all right, in the last week. So we're talking Calgary, Edmonton, and St. Louis. And remember, St. Louis is not a good team.
Mm-hmm.
They are averaging in those 3 games 43 shots against this past week. 43 shots against. That is incredible to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even if a team has 35 shots against the Rangers, I am annoyed. But in 3 straight games, the average is 43 and above. There is a major, major problem defensively on this team. Yes, we can get into other issues, and we will. But if you don't fix that aspect, you cannot win hockey games. I don't care how many goals Artemi Panarin scores. I don't care how many goals Mika Zibanejad doesn't score, for that matter. If you're letting up 43 shots a game, and remember, your backup goalie is 38 years old, you will not win. You can't. You cannot let up 43 shots a goal every game. And so that has to be something that is looked at. Now, everyone wants to say, people are getting on Ryan Lindgren, which is fair. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great comment we'll put up by Nikolai. You miss 100% of the passes you don't make. Thank you, Nikolai. If you want to get on Ryan Lindgren, that is fine. Ryan Lindgren will not be here next year. Because Ryan Lindgren is a free agent next year, first of all. And secondly, it just hasn't worked and he's too injured, right? So he's not going to be here next year. If you're not happy with Ryan Lindgren, or if you want to tell me you're not happy with K'Andre Miller, which you are more than entitled to, because he has been an absolute train wreck defensively. Train wreck might not even be putting it accurately, all right? But if you want to get rid of these people, and on the other hand, you're sitting here saying to me, cup or bust, that's the only thing that will matter this year. If I'm going to replace 2 of my 6 defensemen, I'm not going to have Zach Jones and Mancini take that spot ongoing. Somehow I need to get back in a deal of better defensemen.
Mm-hmm.
And as Alvin is saying, and he's right, and Alvin's a fellow season ticket holder, it's not just the defensive pairing. The whole team's defense is collapsing. There are blown defensive assignments. I am novice to intermediate at understanding the game of hockey. I can't go out and coach it. I can do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, I can spot when there are blown defensive assignments left and right, guys left open in the middle, no one's picking them up. And again, that's a sign that the team doesn't even care. They're not playing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to get rid of Lindgren or Miller, back to that point, someone has to play defense. You have to have 6 defensemen. So who's playing defense? I'm not sure that I'm not sure that helps if your goal is to win the Stanley Cup this year.
So couldn't this be more of a forward problem if you have blown coverages up the middle and stuff? Like those are the guys that are like, puck watching.
Yes. So, and some of this stuff, puck watching, Jesse James on Instagram brings up a good point in turnovers. Turnovers is a great transition into talking about the offense, because the offense is turning the puck over left and right, as is the defense. Now, Mika Zibanejad again the other night with a turnover that led to a goal. And that, again, when it happens one time with a player of Mika Zibanejad's caliber, who is making $8.5 million a year and is consistently turning the puck over, his best contribution to the team right now, or his most consistent contribution to the team, is that he's turning the puck over that is leading the goals against. And he's getting paid $8.5 million. He's here to 2030, and he has a no-move clause. That's how bad it is. I mean, literally think about that.
I just ordered a panic button on Amazon.
Okay, that's fine. So, offensively, Chris Kreider hasn't done a lot in weeks. I understand he was hurt on Monday and he didn't play. He hasn't done a lot. I could even, and Chris will like this because I see Chris is going at it in the comments. I'm a big proponent of the Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Panarin line. They haven't done a lot either. No one is. Unless your name is Will Cooley. Will Cooley is the only person that is doing anything right now.
You hear his name on the announcer saying his name every 5 minutes.
So if you could somehow,
yes,
right, like if you want to take the argument to me that Chris Drury is looking to make moves because the argument is that the core, right? So what is the core? Let's define the core. Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Artemi Panarin would be a part of that. Jacob Trouba, the current core that is here. That the core is cooked or it's fried. I'm not sure how you go out and change it. Like, I wish I had answers for you today on what they need to do. How are you going to get? So Chris Drury says, all right, Mika, MYPB, any Ranger, anything with a brain are seeing the turnovers by Mika Zibanejad. I need to get rid of Mika Zibanejad. Okay, Chris, go ahead. I can live with that. So Chris Drury now says, all right, I want to get rid of Mika Zibanejad. Step one, I've got to get Mika Zibanejad to agree to move his no-move clause. He's not going to do that, right? And if he did, let's say I'm wrong, and he says, you know what, I can find a way to send you to Anaheim. And Mika turns around and says that, okay, you know what, you can go to Anaheim, and you can live on the beach. You can do all these great things. And there will be no pressure. You have a little baby, put him on the beach or her on the beach, get out of here, and fine. He agrees to that. What general manager is stupid enough of the 31 other general managers in the NHL to take a phone call from Chris Drury and say to Chris Drury, you know what? I've watched Mika Zibanejad lately. I would like to take him back on my team at $8.5 million per year for the next 8 years. Well, who's going to do that? No one is going to do that.
B-Rock, you just flipped out. What was
Dan Jones just signed with the Vikings.
Daniel Jones to the Vikings.
Wow.
Okay. Very cool. Breaking news over
Breaking news.
And you know what?
Brian Schefter on the case.
Yeah, Adam Schefter. I would rather actually talk about Daniel Jones than talk about the Rangers, but we got to stick to the Rangers. We'll get to NFL in a couple minutes. So, to me, I don't know how you move Mika Zibanejad.
The similar situation. Can you release him?
No, I don't really think he can. He's not going to go play in Hartford. That's a PR nightmare. Now, Chris Kreider, who was mentioned in the report that the Rangers are looking, no one is safe, right? And Chris Kreider, who was mentioned in the report, I have to preface this because if you're new to MYPB and you haven't been with us for a long time, most Ranger fans, and it's totally fine, love Chris Kreider, right? CK20, throws you to the rafters when he retires, lifetime Ranger, or homegrown product. He was, he was drafted and he's still here. I've never been a huge Chris Kreider guy. I don't dislike the guy, but I've never been as big as other people are. Kreider has a contract with 2 more years after this year at $6.5 million. Also, this year, because I read into the details of his contract, he had a full no-move clause, and this year it changes to a modified trade clause. Chris Kreider, if I am another team, is tradable. It could happen. Like, you may not want to trade Chris Kreider, but it is possible that you could do that. If I was another GM, let me look at it this way.
Yeah.
Chris Drury calls me and wants me to take Chris Kreider, and I am a team like Dallas, I was thinking driving in today, or I was a team that was like, about to make a cup run or close. Toronto comes to mind, maybe having a good year. Maybe one of the Vegas he would be a good fit in,
Mhm.
right? For 2 years at $6.5 million to play, maybe not even he has to be on a top line on another team. That's not bad. But here's the problem. Here's why this doesn't work. Again, if you tell me that this team this year is cup or bust, you cannot trade Chris Kreider because you're not going to bring someone back that's going to have as good and more of an immediate impact than Chris Kreider.
Mhm.
So that's the problem. If you get rid of some of these people,
Mhm.
Chris Kreider is the one that comes to mind. You're not throwing in the towel per se in the season, but how do you then sell me as a season ticket holder? Although I guess we already paid all our payments because that's how it works. But how do you then sell that the goal of this team is cup or bust if Chris Kreider is traded? It's not.
So I kind of agree with Alvin. Where did this comment go? Where did this comment go?
A trade with
Yes,
second
no,
one
no.
up.
There is just no discipline, and this is what we were talking about right before we went live. Like we're burning through coaches. It's the same group of players. You had the Gallant bump. You played well. You got Lavalette. You win the President's Trophy. So the only option now is to blow up this team. Like there's no one who can discipline these players.
Part of that problem is if you blowing up is a strong term,
Mhm.
but if you make moves where you're getting rid of a guy like Chris Kreider, you can't then tell me that the goal is cup or bust this
Mhm.
year. Now, if you want to say to me, look, there's a lot of issues here.
Mhm.
I don't think we're cup or bust.
Mhm.
We can maybe try to ride a hot goalie in the spring, but we're better situated for next year.
Mhm.
I don't know. And Chris brings up a good point. So we'll pull up because Chris and I also don't agree a lot, but we are agreeing here. Trading your best playoff goal scorer in Kreider in the past 3 seasons screams cup or bust.
Yeah, well,
He's
Chris
right.
Chris is always the one talking about how our top line gives up the most goals.
Yes, but Chris is right here because if Chris Drury trades Chris Kreider, right, and you're subtracting what he brings to the cup, which is what you're trying to get to,
Yeah,
you're going to have a very hard time getting a return in that deal that is his immediate impact
I
to
get.
replace
I
what
get on the ice, but what about in the locker room? What about the heart and the passion of playing when you're seeing a lifeless team out there not fighting? You need someone who can fight. Who's someone who can fight?
Stop. I'm not even doing. Don't even get me started. You know that Monday night, I don't know if you saw this during the St. Louis game. People were posting about
We need a
me
fighter.
no about me
Oh.
going live after the St. Louis game.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times, like if enough people request it, I will consider it.
Mhm.
But I was annoyed at 2 things. I was
Mhm.
annoyed at obviously the way they lost,
Mhm.
but I was so angry at the Rempe penalty that there were going to be
You went radio
people
silent.
that like,
Heckle you.
well, no, that there's going to be people that still praise this guy, and I just watched this guy take a dumb penalty away from the puck when you're losing by a goal in the 3rd period. So, a good point by Alvin. A cup or trade bust in the past that has happened. Callahan to St. Louis. Callahan to Tampa for Marty St. Louis, and that was in 2014. And in 2014, so that trade was made, I believe. I mean, you could look. I think it was March 2nd of 2014. It was like on the Wednesday of the trade deadline, and Callahan was going to be a free agent in that upcoming season. And it came out. It either came out or was said between his agents and whoever the general manager was at that time, which really was Glenn Sather, that Ryan Callahan had an asking amount. I believe it was like $6 or $7 million a year, which now again, money in 2014 is not what it is now. So it came out that he was going to want that, and Ryan Callahan was not worth that. I like Ryan Callahan, but it was not worth that money at all. So the Rangers found a way to send him to Tampa and get back Marty St. Louis, and that cup run that they went in before they lost to the Kings in 5 games, Marty St. Louis was critical in particular. Probably one of the most famous goals in New York Ranger history in Game 4 on Memorial Day weekend that year on the Sunday night home game against Montreal. He scored the game winner in overtime.
Cup or bust.
Which was also that year. Chris Kreider had a good playoff year, if I remember correctly. So Nikolai brings up the point, and this is what we say all the time, and I don't know that Nikolai, if it's just Ranger coaches or it's NHL coaches, that is that Ranger coaches are at their best in their first year. If you look at the one above that, if you look at their schedule now, they're in Carolina tonight. They are in Philadelphia on Friday, which I am going to.
Mm-hmm.
They're home against Montreal on Saturday and home against the Devils. And the Devils are playing as well as they've been playing all year. If we're sitting here next Wednesday
Mm-hmm.
and this is still continuing, it is then it's more of a fair question to talk about what is going on with the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm not there yet, but I'm not far from bringing up Laviolette in the discussion. But I'm not there yet.
I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the players that can't. They're pleasant and polite the first year, and then they go to their whiny ways. Did you see Scud's comment?
No, I didn't. I'll bring up Bear's comment on Instagram. Marty St. Louis also should be talked about when we talk about infamous goals. On Mother's Day, they played the Penguins in the playoffs, and they needed to win. It was Game 6 at home. He scored in the first period. It was either 2 or I think it was 3 days after his mother passed away unexpectedly, which was a pretty cool goal, obviously. Score. What was the comment you can pull up?
Scud thinks that the Rangers take a serious look at Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby's not leaving Pittsburgh. He just re-signed there. And Sidney Crosby's not coming here.
Crosby for Kreider and Trouba. You could take them both.
Take them both. You know what? I'll even send you Matt Rempe.
Matt Rempe for a bow on tap.
And as Alvin said, is bringing up, which I said before, you can argue that the cohesiveness was destroyed by the Trouba trade news during the summer. And I had said, Alvin, before, if you just joined, that the Trouba stuff is clearly having an effect here. Now, how much is really the debate? But I mean, that certainly didn't help. We'll take uproar. Rempe is just a distraction and takes the eyes off the other issues on the ice, leave him in Hartford. So, you can change coaches, right? In any sport. It's not just hockey. When things don't go right, it's far easier to change a coach than it is the players. And I don't know, like some of the stuff we just analyzed, went through. I don't know how you I don't know what Chris Drury can really do because of these contracts. Who's taking some of these contracts back?
Yeah, I mean, was that clip from Laviolette this year?
No. The post I put up on Instagram where he lost his mind in the locker room, that game, I believe, was against the Rangers. He was the Flyers in 2011. NFL Hard Knocks? The NHL used to do something, and I wish they brought it back. It was called 24/7, and it was the lead up to the Winter Classic. So whatever two teams played January 1st, for the previous 4 weeks or so, they would follow them and they would release the episode. So that year, the Rangers were playing the Flyers. The Rangers beat the Flyers on a famous Henrik Lundqvist stopped the penalty shot from Daniel Briere in the last minute to win it. But that year, they were the HBO cameras had access to follow the Flyers and the Rangers in the preceding weeks. They played each other at the Garden, and that was Laviolette talking to his team. I'm pretty positive that clip. I know it was when he was coaching the Flyers because you can see the players, but I believe that game, someone can tell me if I'm wrong, I believe they were playing the Rangers. I think that's in the locker room at Madison Square Garden. Yeah. So the Rangers go to Carolina tonight. They go to Philly on Friday. As I mentioned, I will be there. Montreal at home on Saturday, and Devils on Monday. One sign that Ranger fans are frustrated. I would say that if you look at the secondary ticket market for the game on Saturday, they play Montreal. Now, you have a holiday weekend. It's at MSG. Whenever the Rangers are home on a holiday weekend, the tickets are always crazy. They're playing an original 6 matchup versus Montreal. The tickets for this game on the secondary market as of last week were through the roof. You couldn't get in below 300 a ticket. I looked this morning, it's 180. People are annoyed.
Yeah, as they should be.
And I'll pull up Michael's comment because it's a good thing to wrap up on. And that is my issue with the team, is to summarize, is the lack of effort and fight. It looks like a depressing locker room. That's exactly what I led in if you joined us late, Mike. That's exactly the first thing when I talked about the most frustrating thing in this all.
So we have a little stretch of 3 games here. They really need to turn around. You're hitting the panic button at the end of these 3 games if they don't pan out very well.
I'm going to say it's 4 games. So it's Carolina tonight, in Carolina, in Philly, home versus Montreal, home versus the Devils. I think I'm going to be brutally honest here. I think that, and I'm going to be objective because I don't ever try, I really do try here to be like objective. I never want to be a homer or biased. I try really hard not to be, and I feel like I can kind of do that because I'll call people out. I think if you in these next 4 games, let's say you could get 8 points. If you got anything less than, if you got 3 or less, it's a problem. If you went 2-2, I could live with it. And look, 2 of the teams you're playing are not good. Philly and Montreal are not good. So you should be beating both of those teams. So then that means you have Carolina tonight away and the Devils on Monday. The Devils are playing really well. Carolina's playing well. If you're blown out tonight and Monday, or you're letting up a ton of chances again and shots, I would be concerned. There's a chance that the panic button could be here next week. I hope not, but there's a chance.
It will be delivered, but I don't know if we're going to press it.
And a good point, a little counteract what I just said from Gibby on Instagram. Philadelphia and the Canadians are hardworking, though, and we know how that goes with this team. Yeah. Look, they're a Tortorella team on Friday. So last year I went to that game. For some reason, this is the second Friday after Thanksgiving in a row. The Rangers are in Philly in the afternoon. So it's perfect for me to take Jenny from the block and the kids. We go down for the day. But last year, the Rangers won that game 3-1. Mika scored actually like literally 20 seconds into the game and then right behind the net we were in. But the Flyers will work. I mean, even like listen to what I talked about earlier today when I talked about the game when the Rangers clinched the playoffs against the Flyers at the Garden. The Flyers weren't playing for much in March. They were pretty much eliminated by that point, and they came in and worked. So they're going to, they'll make the Rangers work. A Scooby-Doozy, if the Rangers lose 3 of the next 4, then a roster change is an absolute must. Yeah, you're going to get a pretty good read here. Here's the good news. You're going to get a good read, whether on how severe of an issue this is, when you see in the next week, in these next 4 games. Like, you'll know. Next Wednesday, you'll have a pretty good idea if I'm going to come in here and be really annoyed and pissed off at everything, or if I'm going to sit there and say, okay, you know what? They've kind of sailed they've kind of sailed a little bit. Like they've kind of got the rockiness of the ship is not as rocky as it was a week ago. We're going to find out. Just don't. Here's the other thing. Don't on Friday, because we're sitting up in the upper deck with the Philly fans. Then we're obviously driving down there 2 hours and 2 hours back. Whatever on Friday, don't get blown out. Just on a personal request. I don't make personal requests. Don't get blown out on Friday. Because there's other things that we could be doing on Friday. Yeah. I don't need to spend 4 hours in the car, combined to sit with the Philadelphia morons up there and end up getting blown out. Like, that's not what I need. So,
well, it all starts tonight. So hopefully you can build some momentum tonight and turn the ship around.
Yeah.
Which should be a good game, right?
It should be. Walker Bradshaw brings up a good point, one thing, and that is that notice that they seem to only show up against the good teams and then expect to beat the bad teams. They are 1-6 this year versus playoff teams. That should be an indicator also of some struggles. And again, you're playing a playoff team tonight in Carolina. You're playing a playoff team on Monday in the Devils. 2 very good teams. So
don't get caught in those trap games in the middle either.
No. So we shall see. You guys, thank you with the with the comments. So we're going to go to football real quick. Daniel Jones, apparently, our NFL insider, not Jeff Adelson, B-Rock in the corner over there is telling me that Daniel Jones is signed with the Vikings. I don't get excited.
I don't think that was. I think that was one of the worst places to go. You got J.J. McCarthy, who's healing, and you got Sam Darnold, who's playing good right now. So like, he should have went to like San Francisco, which desperately needs a quarterback.
Yeah. I don't look. I don't even think Daniel Jones is good. I don't even know why this is getting pressed. But Daniel Jones to the Vikings. Last week. Can I give credit where credit's due?
Absolutely.
If we didn't have internet issues here before the show today, maybe what we would have done is we could have rolled a clip of
God.
No, it's not bad.
There's one bad one.
There's one, but you won money. I always look at it as did you have more
I'm
money?
talking about the one where I was giving you junk, but you were completely right. But go ahead. You go first.
Okay, so that was the one you lost. So before I go through my picks last week, I made my picks, and you sit there for 5 years. You don't really ever say much with the picks, which is fine. You don't
I agree with you most of the time.
You don't have to. It's fine. But last week, out of nowhere, you were very animated that this was an easy week to pick. So I put you on the spot, and I said, all right, tell me, what games were easy. Now, you're right. We'll start with the bad first.
Well, that was the easiest one, I thought.
Okay, but which is usually how it
So
works.
I don't
Easy-
remember the other
Okay,
ones.
no, you got it. So you made 3 picks last week.
Mhm.
You won on 2 and you lost 1. Now, the one that you got wrong was the one you were most confident in,
Yeah.
which was Pittsburgh minus 3.5 at Cleveland.
Yeah.
Didn't hit. But I will say this. The 2 that you got right, you really got them right. Like, it wasn't close. You were right. You had the Eagles minus 2.5 at the Rams.
Yeah.
And then you had Detroit minus 7.5 at Philly, at Indy.
Yeah.
So you were 2 for 1.
Was
And
it 49-2 or something? Is that
I
that?
don't think it was that extreme, but it was pretty bad. But you did a really good job
Well, thank you.
of nailing everything.
Thank you.
I have to say. So credit to you. So this is the Thanksgiving version of our pick. Oh, I did not have a winning week last week. So we are now 6-5-1. I had the Giants plus 5.5 at home versus Tampa. That did not hit. I had the Patriots plus 7 and the Dolphins. That did not hit. Thank you very much, B-Rock, in the corner with his Patriots.
Mhm.
And then I had the Raiders plus 5.5 at home versus Denver, which didn't hit. Now, I did hit 2. I was 2 and 3 on the week.
Mhm.
I did have Dallas plus 10.5 at Washington, and I had the Eagles minus 2.5 with you on Sunday night. So here are our week number 13 picks, Thanksgiving special. I like the Cowboys minus 3.5 at home versus the Giants. Stop with Tommy Cutlets. I'm done. I don't want to hear it. Cowboys minus 3.5. I like the Steelers plus 3 at Cincy. Steelers need to respond from that loss last week in Cleveland. It's a perfect opportunity to do it, and you have coverage up to a field goal there with the plus 3. Give me the Steelers plus 3 in Cincy. Give me the Falcons plus 2.5 at home versus the Chargers. The Chargers have always been a better team at home than they are on the road. Falcons need the game as well. Plus 2.5 at home. Give me the Falcons. The Eagles plus 3 at the Ravens. I just think the Eagles have kind of just found their groove, and Saquon is unbelievable. So give me the Eagles plus 3 at the Ravens. And last, the Saints plus 2.5 at home versus the Rams. So to recap, Cowboys minus 3.5 at home Thanksgiving at home versus the Giants. Steelers plus 3 at Cincy. Falcons plus 2.5 at home versus the Chargers. Eagles plus 3 at the Ravens. Saints plus 2.5 at home versus the Rams. I will say this about the picks. When I made them, which was yesterday, I usually do them like the night before.
Mhm.
I don't think in the 5 years I've done it, I've ever struggled to make picks. There was like nothing I
Yeah,
liked.
there's nothing. The
Nothing
only
jumped
one,
out at me.
the only one jumping out of me is the Lion game. Because if like we just mentioned with the Lions, like look at the last couple scores. Lions beat the Colts 24-6. Lions then beat the Jaguars 52-6.
So I was with you on that, but the only thing is it was a lot of points. And Jeff Adelson has joined, as you can see. We can put him up.
9.5.
Jeff Adelson's comments. Good morning, sports fans, and happy Thanksgiving. Even same to you, Jeff, and same to everyone. Jeff's Miami Dolphins will be one of the games tomorrow up at Lambeau Field, and then Jeff is also a Chiefs fan. They are the Black Friday game against
On
the
Prime.
Black, against the Silver and Black. I don't know if the NFL did that on purpose, but the Chiefs take on the Raiders on Friday.
Yeah, no really games jumping out.
Yeah, there's not a lot there that I loved this week. Usually I can get like 2 or 3 that I really like, and then there's a couple that I semi-like. There was like not a lot.
How the Broncos? I mean, Cleveland's got plus 5 on the Broncos.
I thought, but is that Monday night?
Yeah.
That's Monday night, right?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that's the Monday night
I
game. I think I'm going Monday night to Ranger Devils, so I won't be watching. You know what? That's a total crock, because if I was home, I'm not watching Broncos and Browns either. Who am I kidding? Unless there was like fantasy.
Buccaneers are only giving away 6 to the Panthers.
Yeah, but if I was gonna do anything, I would have taken the I don't know. There was nothing I liked this week.
Panthers almost beat the Chiefs.
Oh, you know what I almost took?
Panthers almost beat the Chiefs.
I did almost take the Bills minus 7 at home versus the 49ers. I almost took that one, but then I don't know why.
Plus how many?
No, minus 7.
Minus 7? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have a quarterback. San Francisco's playing like
and they're terrible.
water.
And Buffalo's coming off of a bye. Maybe that was the play I should have done. But I'm already locked in. I can't go back. I can't go back. So here's what's gonna happen.
Locked.
Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So like I'll just miss, and the Buffalo will hit. That would have been the difference.
I agree with you this week. Last week I just thought that Bears, or was it the Pittsburgh game, was just so blatantly.
And Jeff Adelson is confirming Purdy's out on IR.
Yeah, which is where Daniel should have went. Someone like that, where they need a quarterback today. Sam Darnold's playing QB there in Minnesota, and there's no long-term play for him there. JJ McCarthy's already there. Like this, he should have went to like San Francisco.
We'll see.
Where Sam Darnold was before he became Viking All-Star.
Yes, we know your feelings on Sam Darnold. That is it for us. Again, the Rangers go to Carolina tonight, in Philly on Friday, and then home for 2 with Montreal in a matinee game on Saturday at the world's most famous arena, and then Monday night at home versus the Devils. Also, we should mention before we leave today, with Thanksgiving tomorrow, happy Thanksgiving. We are thankful that you guys all spend your Wednesday mornings with us, or you stream us at your convenience in the car. We really, really appreciate it. Trust me when I say this, we are thankful for you. We are so thankful for you that we are giving away hats. If you go to our Instagram page, I assure you something, that the hats that we give away are the most comfortable ones there are. We are giving them away. You can go on our podcast. Johnny Lazarus, there's our man.
Is this the game we want to play?
No, take a shot for every Canes goal tonight. Yes. Don't
you want to take a shot? It's the biggest drinking night of the year. We don't want to be the Canes scoring any goals.
If Johnny Lazarus is saying 5-1 Carolina,
wow,
that should tell you things are not good. Maybe next week, Johnny and I
hitting the panic button.
Next week, maybe we'll get Johnny on here. We could have used Johnny earlier, Johnny, because Instagram and the Facebook stuff was blowing up before. We could have used you, bud. So happy Thanksgiving to you, Johnny. Happy Thanksgiving, Gavin. Thank you very much. I see that on Instagram. Appreciate you guys all listening and tuning in. And for the rest of you, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I will be in Philadelphia on Friday for the game. I should be there Monday night as well. And enjoy, most importantly, your Thanksgiving. And we will talk to you soon.